Hello everybody and welcome back to Revolutionary Left Radio. Today we have a shorter than usual episode for you. It's with Nick and Naomi from Means TV. They're talking about this new anti-capitalist, worker-owned streaming platform project they're trying to get off the ground and expand the entire landscape of left-wing media and creativity in our society. So it's really exciting, very awesome to have these two folks on to discuss these issues, and I really encourage people to go check out Means TV, and if you believe in what they're doing, definitely support them. You know, like I say in this episode, nobody's going to come to our rescue. Nobody's going to fund our projects. Nobody's going to sponsor us. We have to build everything that we have to build from the ground up, and we have to do it ourselves. And so that sort of solidarity is absolutely essential in building anything even resembling dual power in our society. And as always, if you like what we do here at Revolutionary Left Radio, you can support us and get bonus content at patreon.com/RevLeftRadio. Now let's get into this awesome episode with Nick and Naomi.
My name is Nick Hayes. I'm a filmmaker. I was like a commercial producer and stuff like that for a long time. And now I'm one of the founding members of Means TV.
And my name's Naomi Burton. I'm the other co-founder of Means TV, and I have a background in marketing and digital media where I worked kind of in the corporate world until I quit and started Means with Nick.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to have both of you on. We've talked a little bit before, obviously off air, about some of our shared goals and interests and what we're aiming for. And I see Means TV as really, you know, the next logical step in the advancement of the left-wing anti-capitalist media landscape. And more than that, you know, you're aiming for worker-owned structures, and you're aiming to expand the political leftist realm to not only shows like this, but even more creative stuff like animation and comedy series, etc., which I think we'll get into in a little bit. But I'm very excited to have you on. Before we get into the discussion about Means TV proper, maybe let's start with some personal inquiries, a little bit of humanizing so people can get a feel for who you are as human beings. What political tendency do you adhere to, and what has your political development looked like over the past few years?
I'd say I identify most strongly with anarchism at this point, and it's been quite a transition. Probably 3 years ago, I was a lib. I wouldn't call myself that. I don't think I really understood that there were any tendencies outside of like Democratic Party loyalty.
Yeah.
So that's where I started. And then after the 2016 election, especially, I was a supporter of Bernie's, but I voted for Hillary, fell in line, and was so disoriented by the Democrats fumbling that so much that I really had to like look at my own politics and figure out, what I actually stood for. So I became a Democratic socialist, got really involved in DSA. That's where Nick and I met. Then I became a socialist because I realized that Democratic socialist is pretty redundant. And now I've just fully transitioned to anarchism. Yeah, so that's where I'm at. What about you, Nick?
I was sort of like a liberal who was rocked by 2016. And I got into leftism through podcasts like Street Fight Radio. I literally just like called Breht from Street Fight Radio and said, like, I want to start filming you guys doing things. And then he said, okay. So I started just like following them all around the country. And they're both like notorious anarchists with like a, Midwestern anarchists. And so that really like impressed on me the intersection of like drugs and fun and anarchism and what that can be. So, I am a DSA member and do DSA things, but I think anarchism rules and is probably the best shot humans have at like, living on any sort of habitable earth in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I definitely think that the 2016 election specifically was a huge catalyst for, countless people in this country on the left to start seeing some of the failures and flaws of the Democratic Party structure and just how rigged the entire system is. And so I think that was a wake-up call for a lot of people. And definitely shout out to Street Fight Radio. They are really good at making, left-wing politics and anarchism specifically accessible, relatable. It's like two working class dudes talking about their kids and their lives. And, that brings in a lot of people and makes these concepts, which might seem scary or weird to people, it makes it much more relatable and humane and humanizes our entire movement. So, shout out to them. And it's awesome that the creation of Means TV was sort of tied up with the development of Street Fight Radio, etc. That's really cool.
It's very much like tied up in like the street fight mindset. This article from Jacobin came out about Breht and Brian today, and Brian had a really thoughtful thing about anarchism in which he said, like, to him, anarchism is just the a variety of approaches. It has the largest like variety of approaches to building like working class power in his mind, where it's like DSA, socialism, communists, like just popular kind of community-based movements, all of those sorts of things kind of fit under the anarchist umbrella. And I just thought that that was like a well put street fight.
Yeah. Yeah, that is cool. And I just, right before we started recording this episode, I just got done doing my second installment of a new sub-series here on Rev Left called In Dialogue with Anarchism. Obviously, people know me as a Marxist-Leninist. And so I'm doing this thing where I'm inviting anarchists on to have like really healthy, constructive, non-toxic, non-social media-centered discussions about our similarities and our differences, in part because I believe that regardless of where you fall on that spectrum of anarchist or Marxist, that we're going to have to work together going forward, that we're going to have each other's backs, and things are going to get much worse as climate change ravages the planet and these rise of fascism becomes more prevalent from, all over the West especially. So I'm trying to be constructive in that way and build those bridges because I think they're necessary. Even though we come from little different areas on the left, we're still working towards similar goals and we still support one another's projects and we want to see one another succeed. And that's very much how I feel about Means TV for sure.
Yeah, totally. And it's like we're all at the very least aligned against capitalism. And that's what, like, we're hoping with Means TV. It's like we're going to have everybody except for capitalists on there, with different viewpoints. And we're hoping it can kind of be a centralized platform to exchange these ideas in a different format.
Yeah, absolutely. And from what I've seen coming out of Means TV, which again, we're going to get into a little bit more, I've seen great stuff coming through. And I think one of the really shining bright spots that caught my attention is just how relatable that you're making leftism, just how humanized and how accessible this stuff is. And that's going to be increasingly important as people begin looking for alternatives. As the capitalism enters more and more crises, as the center falls out, people are going to be looking left and right. And the left has to be ready to welcome people in that might not know much about our history or our theoretical tendencies, but, wants to save the planet and save their own family going forward. So that's important. But let's go ahead and talk about Means TV a little bit more. Where did the idea for Means TV come from? And honestly, what is Means TV?
I mean, I think the idea for Means TV sort of came about around the time that we were in DSA, like learning about co-ops a lot more and about like the political repercussions of just like a cooperative economy. And I was kind of like looking at the digital media landscape and like looking at what jobs were available and kind of, looking at these different things that I for a long time had been shooting for and realizing they weren't that cool or good. Working on a TV show is like 80 hours a week, it's like a lot of work. And so it's like none of these things seemed like good. And, me and Naomi have lots of friends that work in digital media and we're looking at hearing from them and it's like, this shit sucks. Like you can't keep a job for more than, 2 years because there's such turnover and these companies are constantly closing. And it's like, we wanted to apply the idea of worker ownership to media and to like entertainment distribution and production, which is like what drives so much of our culture. So even before we did, the video for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and like all these other fantastic people who ran for office, we were kind of talking about the need for a worker-owned sort of radical but big tent media network that distributes all sorts of content and sort of acts as a legitimizing like platform to jump off of for this emerging like left media scene.
Yeah, I mean, we were looking at places like Fox News and seeing that, not only do, as we were doing some of this electoral work, Fox News has a structure so that when their candidates lose, they get a TV show. They get a full platform that in 4 years or 2 years they can run again. And the left didn't have anything like that. And we knew we could do better than Fox News. But they have the largest cable news viewership. They have the youngest cable news viewership. So, they're doing something right. They're winning a lot of the times.
It also says a lot about cable news audiences, too. It's like nobody's, most young people are not tapped in politically because there's nothing talking to them.
Right.
There's nothing at all authentically like speaking to their experience of the world. Even the stuff with tendencies, like I say I'm an anarchist, but it's like really like it's like it's all sort of the same. It's very blurry to me, like what is what. And I think it's a matter much more of like building robust opposition to capitalism and getting people cool with like maybe throwing away some of these institutions we hold on to so dearly, that are undemocratic and unfair.
For For sure, yeah. And if anybody out there is still skeptical about the role that media and cultural production play in our society, I mean, especially the U.S. society, not only can you look at obviously huge cultural touchstones like Game of Thrones, for example, but Fox News is an absolute monolith. I mean, Fox News is a purveyor of reactionary politics and has, millions and millions of Americans, including probably many of our fathers and grandparents and uncles and aunts, sort of held hostage to their weird brainwashy understanding of the world, that ultimately serves reactionary fascist politics or pro-capitalist, pro-imperialist politics, or really they're all, two sides of the same coin. And so, having a left media that can challenge some of that and offer different narratives and entice people through accessible content is incredibly important. And we just need to look to things like Fox News to see how big of an influence, stuff like that can possibly have in our society.
Yeah, or even I look at that stuff and that feels almost obvious to people, right? Like, oh, Fox News is so political. And of course they are, and they're reactionary. But like, I think about like, where did my worldview come from? And it's like, it's the TV and movies that I watched as a kid and still that I didn't realize had a lens and came from a perspective because, TV and movies are kind of packaged in this neutral space. And now I see about 5 rich guys who are also like pedophiles fund, yeah, direct, and distribute those. And exactly. It's like, oh, that's why I, have all these kind of strange worldviews.
Well, everything's political, and entertainment is so widely consumed, and it's one of the most consumable products in our society because you can watch a VHS or a DVD or whatever as many times as you want, and just download that straight into your brain. And so it's the perspective of all this media is perpetuating empire, perpetuating injustice, and so if we have a workaround model where the people in charge of creating and producing and distributing that entertainment have a stake in improving society and empowering working people, then we're going to have narratives and sort of undertones to TV and movies that are much more aligned with solidarity and aligned with building power for working people.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what are the short-term, medium-term, and even long-term goals for Means TV? What are you trying to accomplish both in the here and now and over, probably the next few years, et cetera?
So the short-term goals, basically, we're wrapping up a fundraiser that we've been running for the last 8 weeks. We have 2 weeks left. We're raising funds in order to have money for our shows, our movies, and the actual streaming platform that will come out in early 2020. So we're going to be releasing content all this summer. We have lots of awesome documentary things, news things, live comedy events that we're going to be releasing and filming all throughout the summer. And then we're going to be basically launching the platform early 2020 for people to subscribe to and gain access to a full library of content that's anti-capitalist, pro-worker, and we'll be building from there basically.
Yeah, and that's a very important. There's 2 weeks left for this fundraising. We're going to get into fundraising in the next question, but we will link to that in the show notes. And I really encourage people to go support this if you can. It's really important that we depend on ourselves to fund our ventures and our plans and these new media inventions that we're coming up with, because we're not going to have a lot of corporate sponsors. You're not going to have these huge mainstream people and channels and stuff getting behind us. If we're going to build anything as a left in the United States, we have to build it from the ground up, and we have to build it ourselves. And we're actually, trying to help on our part, not only by having this interview and getting the word out about Means TV, but also we've been filming a documentary about Rev Left Radio that we've already talked with Means TV about releasing and distributing through that platform. So we're trying to help get the ball rolling in this direction as well. And if people are interested in that, that's where it will be. But let's talk about the fundraising a little bit. How is it going so far? What's your ultimate goal, and why is it important for you to fundraise in this specific way as opposed to, getting investors or taking out business loans, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, the business loans one is just that no bank would give me a loan.
Yeah.
Otherwise I wouldn't really care. But the reason why we have to do it this way is because we don't want to be beholden to anybody, and we don't want anybody feeling like we owe them a favor. We also worked in advertising for a really long time and know how corrosive relying on advertising money is to digital media, and want nothing to really do with that. So that's why we're launching a subscriber funded platform. And, we'll probably continue to run some different fundraising campaigns through the summer, just to, fund different projects and do different things like that. But the fundraising so far has been like so impressive and so amazing. Like we have over 2,000 people who have donated to support the project. We've raised over $75,000 so far. And,
Wow, awesome.
Yeah, we feel like a ton of gratitude to the scene. Like there's a scene of people, like there's a building left and energy and like momentum and commitment from people to like build things for ourselves. And it's so cool,
Yeah. Yeah, it just wouldn't happen without, without people like you guys and
Yeah.
without just everybody. I mean, we started this campaign, I think we had like 6,000 Twitter followers. We had no money. We have no money for like paid advertising. There are a handful of us, doing everything. And so, yeah, to get the response that we have so far, to feel like people really identified with this immediately and we're willing to give $5, $10, and we know that's really difficult for people these days. So, yeah, it's just been incredible to see. And, we got on Fox News and we pissed off them. So that's the nice cherry on top.
Absolutely, yeah. Riling them up is always a good thing. And they gave you free advertising, which is funny.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll take it.
Yeah, definitely. So what are some of the names on the left that you've already gotten? You mentioned Street Fight, for example, but what are some other names you've already gotten to participate in this project? And who are some leftist voices that you'd love to get and work with in the future?
Okay, people we are working with now, Street Fight Radio, of course, Sarah June out of LA. I'm like blanking on
the Trillbillies Workers Party.
Yeah, we got Jake Flores in New York, Josh Androsky in LA.
And just great support from people like, like famous people. Like
Arish Singh too, though. Arish Singh in Chicago is a great one.
Yeah, and then people like Pamela Anderson, John Cusack,
Wow.
people who I saw on TV as a child are, very supportive of this and have been super helpful for getting the word out. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has tweeted about us a number of times.
All the friends, all the pals.
Yeah.
Like, there's a bunch of other people I forgot to mention too. There's podcasts, there's comedy shows, there's independent journalists, there's writers, there's like activists like Tim Faust. There's this whole like beautiful scene of people that Means TV is like an organizing project a little bit of just like centralizing some of that energy and some of that power that we can wield.
Yeah. And it's incredibly promising and impressive that you are able to pull support from, so many different areas of the broadly conceived left. I think I heard you, at least one of the first times I heard you was on Chapo. I forget who the comedian was you had in one of your videos who she was drinking the coffee cup and like sort of ironically talking about capital. Yeah. What was her name?
Sarah June. Yeah.
Yeah. She was great. I loved that, and that was one of the first videos I saw from you. So yeah, that's really cool to see so many different people from so many different backgrounds coming to support this project. This isn't going to be a very long episode. I just wanted to get the basics out and make it as accessible to people. So we're sort of winding to 2 more questions, if that's okay with you two. But one question I definitely want to get out on the table is how can creators get involved with Means TV during this period where you're still fundraising and working toward a goal while simultaneously trying to get the word out and get more people involved? What can people do to help out if they are creative people and want to explore their art or projects through Means TV?
I mean, the best way, if you're just like, somebody who works as a writer or in entertainment as like a camera operator or editor, just reach out to our contact at means.media email. That's the best way to like get a hold of us, and like we'll put you into our like spreadsheet with people that's broken down into regions. So if we have anything going on there, or if you just want to connect, like Naomi and I are always happy to like jump on the phone with people and kind of explain the project anymore or answer any questions they have. So I would just say shoot us an email.
Yeah, and we're still kind of formalizing our pitch process, but we are taking pitches, ideas, resumes. So, while we are fundraising, we're interested. We know that there are so many people with ideas and pitches that have been, rejected or never even heard from all the mainstream networks. So, yeah, we're definitely interested in that.
Yeah. And this is just again to make sure people know you're still fundraising, still in the early processes of getting this thing off the ground. But just when me and my friend who's shooting the documentary reached out to you to see how we could help, you were incredibly receptive, immediately willing to jump on the phone and talk to us. And so we really appreciated that. And I know it's probably hard when your platform is getting bigger and bigger and more people are like, I have an idea. But you two have done really good so far. I really appreciate that.
Well, we really appreciate that. And we apologize in advance for, any delay in responses. But yeah, we're working our butts off to be able to respond to everybody who's reaching out to us. And we so appreciate the support.
Definitely. So if you want to repeat that email one more time, sort of fold it into the answer to this last question, but where can people find Means TV online? And most importantly, how can people directly support this project and help with the fundraiser? Yeah, I think the best place to find us is on Twitter at @means_TV. You can find us on YouTube, youtube.com/meanstv, or go to our website, means.media, where you can donate to support us in this campaign. And if you want to reach out with any questions, or if you want to connect with us about working together, shoot us an email at contact@means.media. Awesome. Is there any last things you want to say about your project, about Means TV, or anything before we wrap this up? No, just thanks for having us on to talk about it. And I remember listening to Rev Left Radio 2 years ago and feeling very confused about how I fit into this left political space, and am I even useful, or what do I do? And so I appreciate all your work, and we really appreciate you, Breht. Thank you. Nick and Naomi from Means TV, thank you so much for coming on. Let's keep in touch and keep working together. And I really encourage Rev Left listeners to, go out and support this project. It's really awesome and really promising, and we absolutely need it.
Thanks so much for having us, Breht.
Absolutely. Solidarity.